What primers are you using?
Federal, 210, I think it is.
That's good enough primer. That's good primer.
But I've heard the CCI that is, what is it, 200 or something like that, is a good primer, so.
I find, I'm not going, like I said, I didn't agree with him on the primer, but I'm not entirely disagreeing with him either. I find in primers, sometimes the thickness is a little bit different. You might find a seat in a primer and it goes in kind of loose, a little bit, ooh, it ain't tight enough. And you change to another primer that might be a little tighter.
I'm not into depth like you are. I just started on it, I didn't realize it's switching your brass. You know, running all the same brass would give you different results.
Yeah, you should keep with the same brass.
Yeah, I just learned that about a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
don't mix brass. That should be just like mixing bullet weights.
Yeah, well, I've got way above bullet, every bullet gets weighed now, but, I was just surprised that by lowering my velocity, I was more accurate.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me a bit.
But I kept-
What you're doing is you're like a tuner. You're tuning. In other words, the bullet coming out of that barrel at certain speeds gives you different vibrations in that barrel. So if you've lowered it, then that's hitting a node that the gun likes.
Right.
So yeah, it's very possible. You just don't want to get too low, because if you get below a certain point, it is the worst thing. It is dangerous for a gun.
Yeah.
It can give you more problems than
High pressure.
high.
Yeah, well, this is an old military,
It don't matter.
96 model, so I'm keeping it up where, you know, like,
Yeah, you got to keep it up enough to
Yeah.
within where that book starts anyway.
Oh, yeah, I'm way, I'm about the.
Yeah, that'd be
I'm
fine.
about the middle of the book, so.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
I think you'll find that anything in the 30-06, 7mm, or 8mm Mauser family,
Uh-huh.
which is where all those cartridges started, the 308, .6, all that stuff. Anything in that family, you take the book maximum, you back it down about 2 to 3%, is where you're gonna find your accuracy in that family.
Yeah.
Because when they developed those cartridges, what they did was they started working up till they found the best accuracy, and then they pushed it past it to what was acceptable. Because everybody wanted velocity, and they wanted that written on the box.
Yeah.
So they pushed it past the accuracy level, or its most accurate level, to an acceptable level.
I was real surprised at the difference, when I started realizing the difference between the stick and the ball, powder, performance and so on. Just a trial and error, you know, finding what the gun liked and what powder it shot well with.
Did you find the difference in the loading and the easier loading with the ball powder versus the stick powder?
Oh, yeah.
Is always going to be the case.
Yeah, especially
But if you found a difference in accuracy, then you've got to go with the accuracy.
Yeah.
I like stick powder pretty good, even though it's harder to measure in some cases. I'm looking here right now for, don't know if I'll find it, for the 6 ppc or the 22 ppc, to see what the maximum loading for it is in this old book of mine here. I haven't bought a book for 20 years.
It's not gonna have a PPC.
No.
Well, I thought it did.
No, I got that one, they don't.
Now.
It'd be in the back under the millimeter.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, let's just say that it's not in here, and it don't matter. But I know that the book probably says
What is the PPC?
max 27, and I load 30. No, I'm loading 29 right now.
What's the PPC stand for?
I don't know if it came from those two guys' names or not.
Yes,
Oh, it's their names. Okay. That's their name?
Paris Pendle cartridge.
Paris Pendle.
Yeah.
There you go. That's my buddies. Well, I don't know, somebody does.
How about
You wanna know
the-
about shotguns, you talk to that guy back there and that guy.
How about the stainless versus the other barrels? Any difference?
What's that?
Normally you're talking about chrome moly versus stainless.
What power?
Mostly we go with this, but, I screwed up.
why I noticed you had.
Yes, I can agree that lot. Normally, well, the reason this one here is polished is because I polish it. I've got a buffer, I used to do knives, make custom knives and stuff. And, I'm pretty good at polishing my steel and brass or whatever it is. You know, that looked terrible. That's why I bought that gun, because it looked so ugly.
It's actually, it's duller now than what it was.
Yeah, I'll polish it up.
Hey,
I
Bob,
can't believe you brought it down here, not polished
I
up.
know.
show him your joystick.
Well,
That's personal.
here's the difference between what I used to do in the 70s and 80s. That is my rest. This little rest here. I mean, I used this thing for years and years. My brother-in-law, who was a gunsmith, tool and die maker, made it for me. But it's just a cheap version. It had a leather sandbag on it. I just put that on there last week. Just a bunch of leather glued together. Just, sorry about that.
That's for garage work.
But don't think that you have to go out and spend a whole bunch of money to get into this game. I'm really feeding a lot of stuff here that's expensive, but
You're really shooting against yourself down here.
that's true. That's true.
That's all you need.
And here's what I look at. A rest like that will do you just fine. This little sandbags, I still got that little sandbag, it's wore out, but this sandbag right here will do you just fine. But what I do is when I'm shooting the sandbag, I control where the gun's going by squeezing these ears back here and moving my gun with that. So you don't have to have a joystick to shoot
It's nicer though,
good, yeah.
because you center your target and you got full
Well,
range.
that helped me a lot because of my problem, and it allowed me to get on target quicker.
Yes.
And still, you gotta move that thing every time you move to a target.
That's what, yeah, score
But you're doing
shooting
it with the
blood goes
joystick.
on.
But here, you're just doing it with your hand, and you'd be surprised. I wouldn't have to be raising Lord like I do on this thing here, as much with that. That little sandbag, you'd be surprised, you can move that thing around. But the main thing is try to keep it as straight as you can down. We were talking about those wind flags there.